I'm Chad Fournier with Current TV. On this episode of Behind the Board, we talk to Southern Shores Mayor Elizabeth Morey. So we're here today with Southern Shores Mayor Elizabeth Morey. How are you?
I'm good.
Good to meet you.
You too, Chad.
Thanks for doing
nice
this.
to meet you. Thank you.
Yeah, nice to talk to you.
Thanks for picking a nice, beautiful day.
We're here at the Southern Shores Civic Association tennis courts, which are beautiful. They're awesome out here. Do you play here a lot?
I do, and I have to agree with you. This is like one of my favorite places in town.
Mm-hmm.
And when I get to play tennis here, I always think I'm one of the luckiest people in the world. I've won the lottery because who gets to play tennis in such a lovely setting as this? I mean, it's just, yeah, it's fabulous.
Yeah, it's nice. Have you been playing tennis for a while?
Started playing tennis when I was a kid,
Mm-hmm.
but then stopped playing tennis, did other stuff, and then took it back up about 10 years ago after we were here. And so I've been active in tennis since then.
So when you said you played as a kid, did you play through high school and stuff too, or?
Not so much.
Okay.
A little bit when I was, I guess, a senior in high school maybe, but we didn't, that was back when you didn't have high school tennis teams typically, especially not for girls. So I think they finally put together a team like the last year I was in high school, and that was it.
So how long have you been mayor of Southern Shores?
I was elected in November of 2021.
Okay.
I was elected first to the town council in November of 2019 and served 2 years there and then ran for mayor.
What made you want to run for mayor?
Yeah, so a couple reasons, a couple things played into it. You know, right after I was elected to town council, we had this thing called the pandemic.
I've heard of it.
And it pretty much blew everything up. And the reason I wanted to get on council in the first place is I wanted to try to do things that would improve people's experiences and lives here in the town of Southern Shores. So I had all these grand plans, and all of that got shoved aside because of the pandemic, when we were simply trying to hopefully make it to the next month. You know, because we all thought it was the end of the world, and to some degree or another, until we didn't. And then we became one of the most popular places for everyone to come in the country. But living through that, the previous mayor decided not to run again, so because I would never have run against him, because I really liked his leadership. I really liked what he had done for our town. But you know, so it was an open seat. So I said, okay, I'll give it a go. I had also done a lot of door knocking, the old-fashioned campaigning where you go and you talk to people at their front doors or at their front stoop, and listen to them about what they think is important, why they do they like living in Southern Shores, and if so, why, and anything they might change, so forth and so on. So I had all this input from all those conversations, and I wanted to try to get some of those things implemented if possible. So that's a very long answer, but yeah, that's
No, I mean, you had
it.
mentioned the kind of the vision you had, the things you were wanting to do before the pandemic sidelined it, and then the input you got from the people. So what were those types of things that you were looking at?
Yeah, so a couple of issues. The town of Southern Shores owns all 37.5 miles of the streets. I mean, there's a few privately owned streets around that you can tell where they are, but they're very few and far between. So we were in the business of doing robust street improvements. So a really nice project, but it only affected a very short amount of pavement. And one of the conversations I had with one of our residents here was, you know, at the rate you're going, you're never going to get through the whole network of streets because you only are doing such short amounts of improvements every year. And it just I was like a light bulb. I was like, you're exactly right. So we engaged a professional engineering firm to come in and basically look at the entire network of streets. And we have I guess we're going to our third year of a program now where we're trying to improve the quality of the streets as a network as opposed to just little street segments. But that's a boring infrastructure thing, but it turns out that's what people care about.
Yeah.
You know, This year, so we've done 2 big infrastructure things. One is beach nourishment, which was huge. And we did that towards the tail end of my time as a council member through the leadership of our staff and Mayor Bennett. And then we sort of took it over because it got done. It actually finished last spring. It started the fall before last. So that got done, and then the next big thing we're going to do is, if you've ever driven on Juniper Trail, which is that street that comes off of 158, goes by Town Bank on the right, Food Line Shopping Center on the left. If you go down there about 1.5 miles, you'll come to the biggest speed bump in Dare County. And what that is a place where you cross the canal, and there's a culvert in there. So the road goes up and down like that. And it's not constructed very well, so it's had failures, so it's now even more of a bump. It's a safety hazard and more of a bump. So we're going to build a bridge and take that culvert out of there and improve the safety, improve the drivability, everything.
Nice.
So yeah, again, boring infrastructure, but turns out that stuff matters.
Yeah, it's stuff people care about and
Yeah.
want to get done.
Yeah,
So
yeah, they do.
Might not be as boring as you think. Where are you from?
I was born in Dallas, Texas,
Okay.
and I'm the youngest of 4 when my family decided to move to Atlanta, Georgia when I started first grade. So I went to grade school and high school in Atlanta, Georgia, and then got to North Carolina for my first job after college, and I've been here ever since.
What was your first job?
My first job after college was working for the power company in Wilmington, North Carolina, and then I worked a couple more jobs, and then I went back to school and got a graduate degree and went in a different direction. And my husband and I bought property here in 1999 because we decided this is the place we really like coming back to. And maybe we could live here. So it's like so many stories of people when you hear why they come here.
Yeah.
That story gets repeated more often than not.
Yeah.
And so we're right in line with those. So we bought the lot, built the house. I got a job with Dare County in environmental health. Worked for them for 10 years. Mm-hmm. And again, been here ever since.
What was your graduate degree in?
Soil science. Okay. So I'm sort of an earth science person. My bachelor's is in forestry, forest management, and master's in soil science. Have sort of an interest in all things hydrologic, and yeah, so stuff like that. Earth scientist, easiest answer.
That's cool. Did you work for the county all the way up until?
So, yeah, so I worked for the county from the fall of '03 until 2014.
Do you have any kids?
The only kids that my husband and I have are the 4-legged kind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you have?
Well, we've had cats and dogs, but currently we just have a single dog.
What kind?
He's a Shetland sheepdog.
What's his name?
His name is Jackson.
Jackson.
Yeah.
He sounds like he's a cool guy.
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
What's your current vision for Southern Shores?
Well, so I spoke about some infrastructure improvements that are in the works. The main thing you'll hear both myself and other folks that live here say is they really like Southern Shores the way it is. They don't want it to change very much, but change is part of life. But we are lucky in that we have a development. The town was laid out by developers, Frank Stick and his son, David Stick. And they put all the commercial development on the south end of town, and the rest of town is residential, mostly single-family dwelling residential, with a few exceptions. And that is something that most people who live here say they want to keep. They like that feel of the community. The other thing that we take for granted is this is the Southern Shore Civic Association property. The town doesn't own a lot of property. As a matter of fact, between the Chickahawk Property Owners Association and the Civic Association, they basically are the town's Parks and Recreation Department because they own all the amenities. They own the beach accesses. They own the tennis courts, the marinas, the playgrounds, pickleball courts. So all these things that a town would have to be in the business of need to be in the business of providing for recreation, our town is lucky enough to have volunteers in these associations that take care of everything you see right here, as well as all the other amenities that they own. So yeah, we pride ourselves on being a town of volunteers.
Hence the sign.
Hence
as you
the
drive
sign
in.
as you drive up, yeah, NC12. Yeah, that's who we are. I'm wearing a hoodie from the Southern Shores Volunteer Fire Department. We have just a handful of paid professional firemen, and everyone else that does that work is a volunteer. They get interested in it, and the fire chief gets them involved and keeps them, engaged. And sure enough, we've got, like, my next door neighbor, he lives 2 houses down from me. He got involved, and now he's a professional firefighter in Virginia, but he still has roots here, and he still comes down here, and when he's here, he's a volunteer. He goes on calls here.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's pretty impressive. And for now, it's working. It might not last, but for now, we've got a volunteer fire department.
It's interesting, all the volunteers.
Yeah.
Like, for the whole, kind of running the whole town.
Really
Yeah.
doing all of the, like I said, the maintenance. We got a big Earth Day event coming up later on this month, where we'll have a big spring cleanup of a lot of these different marinas. But it takes an army of volunteers, literally, to maintain everything.
We know that you are into tennis. What else are you into in your free time?
Oh, well, I like to walk. I like to exercise. Walk my dog. I like to go to the beach. I like to travel, and if you ask anybody, they'll tell you that the license tag on the tag on the front of my car gives it away. I'm a big Hurricanes hockey fan, so I go to hockey games in Raleigh.
What inspires you? What do you take inspiration from?
I would say my parents, primarily. When my family moved from Dallas to Atlanta, we moved to basically a newly formed subdivision, so there were no recreation opportunities at all. And we were very used to having, public pools, public tennis courts when we grew up, when I lived in Dallas. And so my dad got the idea of talking to a developer about getting some land donated so that we could build our own community swim and tennis club. And he successfully did that. The landowner developer donated the property, and we put enough memberships together to get the loan to build the pool and tennis courts, and that's when I started playing tennis, was in Atlanta when I was a kid growing up. Yeah, it was something my parents really wanted, and they got together with the neighborhood, and they made it happen. I can still remember stuffing the little pieces of paper in people's mailboxes, which was the solicitation for, here's your potential for a membership.
That's the type of stuff that gets you into, wanting to serve the public and help out your community.
I first started with the community here as a member of the planning board. I've asked to be appointed to the planning board. I got the appointment. And the reason I did that is my dad was the planning board chair for Fulton County in Georgia, which is the county that Atlanta sits in. It's the largest county in the state of Georgia. And he did that for more than 2 decades, and he was the chairman for quite a bit of that time. And I remember him being the planning board chair, so that was the reason I got on the planning board. And I stayed in the planning board position here in town for about 8 years, and then decided to run for council. Because I wanted to go from making recommendations to the people who made the decisions to one of the people who got to make the decisions. So that was the main reason I did that. And one of those people who happens to believe that local government can do things to improve people's lives and improve their experiences. And even though people don't believe me, that's actually why I want to do this work, is because I I like making things better. I like solving problems. That's what I like to do.
So one thing Southern Shores is known for are their historic flat top homes. Tell us a little bit about those homes and what's the deal with the homes in Southern Shores? That's
What's
like
the
how did
deal?
that become their thing?
The town was developed by Frank Stick and his son David Stick. And one of the first types of homes that Frank built was what's come to be known as a flat top, using a lot of concrete, flat rooftops, you know, and it's just way back before there was, you know, air conditioning, so it was just a one-story flat top home. We have not that many of them left, but we do have some left. Some of them are on our Historic Landmarks Commission list. We'd like to get more of them on that list. And at the end of this month, there's going to be a flat top tour, which they do that every other year. What's going to be notable about this year is a few months ago, about 6 months ago, the town of Southern Shores started negotiating to purchase a flat top. And the one that we're purchasing, or the one we did purchase, is adjacent to our own town property. It had previously been used for the Outer Banks Community Foundation offices. So they used it for about 17 years as their office, then they moved to Manio, so they sold us the lot and the house. So now we have our own flat top, which we are going to convert back to a residence, so that we can potentially, at least to start out with, try to recruit a police officer, because it turns out it's very difficult to recruit police officers these days. And it also turns out that housing is a challenge for anyone trying to move here and have a job like be a police officer or a firefighter or healthcare provider, et cetera, et cetera. So we're hoping to use that as an incentive to try to get a new officer on board. We've had several vacant positions for quite some time, so it's just something we're going to try. So we are now a flat top owner.
That's cool.
It's very cool.
Mayor Elizabeth Morey, Mayor of Southern Shores, thanks for talking to us today and letting us get to know you a little bit better. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. It was fun.
Yeah, good times.
Thanks.